Hello, everyone. Julia here, recording this September 8th, 2024, and I'm here with James Brockhurst, aka Dr. 144. I want to say 444 for some reason, but we're here kind of giving an archaic summary update, and fours are good no matter how many, right? And yeah, just kind of James had a request on his channel for him and I to kind of have a talk together about archaics. And I was kind of thinking about doing another summary as well. And one of the differences, one of the different things that Jason says now about some of his research is that vapor canopies don't necessarily have to be worldwide, that there can be local vapor canopies. So I thought that was interesting because I think about like the giants in Patagonia and stuff like that. So there, they might have been a few little spots of vapor canopies more recent than we thought. And then, all the hater stuff going around with Jason right now, all this bad, negative hater energy coming at him, but he's such a magi, he just transmutes it. And look at him just manifesting like a boss. And, it's so genius, his new tactic here with having all these interviews with all these different channels, and it's just getting the word out more. And a lot of people think he's like a plant because, you know, how could he get so popular so quick and all these things, but it wasn't really that quick. He went a long time and only got up to like 3,000 views, and it's just all of a sudden it caught on, and that's how things work. And the people you need to look at that their channels grow fast are the ones you never heard of, and then you find their channel and they got 4 million subs. you know, those are the ones that are like, what? How did that happen? So, yeah. And I know that you've had some words with James True about Jason and what people do. They don't really look into Jason's work in much detail, like you can see on this thumbnail on this talk that James and I are having. That's just one of his many, many charts, but that one's pretty extensive. And it took, you know, over 2 decades of reading books and deciphering information to come up with that. And people just want to dismiss it because he has a prison record, and they make all kinds of weird accusations. But I think it's just kind of jealousy, really. So what do you think, James?
Well, what people miss is you've got to put yourself in the shoes of another. What circumstances would you need in this reality to allow you to have the time to do all that research? It would take a very special path, and our actions create an outcome. It's very easy from being inside this construct to make judgments on things and see something as good or bad. But what Jason went through and the time that he went through it, because that's an important factor. And also something I've pointed out, and Jason's mentioned this many times on video, he was made to go to church 5 days a week. That, I feel, would, what subsequently happened, you would think, well, if he's had all this Bible preaching at him, it's got to the point where it's caused an opposite. So his subsequent path from that, then, I mean, it's beautiful the way it leads. I'm not um, making a judgment on what is right or wrong because I wasn't there. I don't know the circumstances. But what has been beautiful about the start of this week with these two individuals who've made these attacks in response to the challenge of disprove the data, they can't. So all they've done is validated what Jason says about being informed, because from what they've said, they've given me all I need to just reflect back their own words. On one channel, the pinned comment was, this is the only comment I'm going to make. But he replied to my comment under that. So I just pointed out that his words and actions don't match. It's like, you're just handing this to me on the plate. Interesting, I can place an isometric marker on 1974. So if you go and equal, I forget the number of years, there was a US blimp that went down. Now, James True has this podcast thing I think you have to pay for called Airship. And I said, it looks like you're not going to attain 20,000, which you'll be wailing on your community posts. And it's like, oh, it seems to be jealousy over numbers as a possible intention for this attack. But it's always personal. And I thought, I'm not having this. So that's why I stepped in on both times. And I will continue to do so if I see something like that, because that's unfair. The other individual, all he could come up with as his basis was because some of the videos have a monarch butterfly and its symbology and what it's associated with. But hey, we're in a realm of perceived duality. So if there is a negative, there is always a positive. A monarch being a king. It was a beautiful live presentation on Archaix last night with Dr. Danny. I forget the last name. It adds a whole new dynamic, and it's beautifully explained as to why there's this talk of a 13 zodiac signs or 12. This missing one is a fucus, which can't be seen from, I think it's Western astrology. And it got on the conversation of this 2178 number. And we're basically in a holographic realm of 11 dimensions. There's a 12th that we can't access, but I may have found a way of surpassing number 12 and getting to number 13. This will be released on the video tomorrow. I'm putting an offer out there, and we'll just see what happens from that. That's all I'm going to say about it. But that will also be a history repeating itself. But I'm not bothered either way on the outcome. I've taken a leaf out of the systems book, and they play both sides, and it's a win-win. So that's a huge clue. You set things up yourself, so it's a win-win. Now, 2040, everybody's worrying about it, and there's been accusations of Jason spreading fear and all this thing. It's like, well, it's already been shown to me that the fluidity of this reality. I was within 20 miles of where there was being reported in the United States about earthquakes. I never felt a thing, but I did get a comment from a lady who said she lives in an area the size of 2 football pitches. So a very small area. And some people felt it and some people didn't. And the deciding factor on that was those that had allowed the system to drive the point home to them in 2020, shall we say, instead of finding the whole point of everything that is going on is to realize that you are a sovereign being and take responsibility for yourself, including your avatar. This message is about having 2020 vision, about having clarity, having the vision. This is the theme of it all. It's looking inside yourself to find the true you. This is the topic of the video I've released today, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, who is the darkest of them all? Because we're in a realm of duality. So let's have a look at the darkest as opposed to the fairest. And I leave that open to people to listen to and put the challenge to themselves. Anyway, that's gone off on a tangent really from what we've already here to talk about, which is Archaix. But it's been an interesting, well, beautifully interesting week so far.
Well, it's Sunday, so I don't know if it's the end of the week or the beginning of the week. But yeah, I think like I'm not so sure Jason's right really about all his research, because I know how this reality works too. That you look for patterns, you're going to find them. You look for evidence, you're going to find it. I mean, look at the flat Earth, globe Earth debate,
Well,
and it's like anything is possible in a virtual reality. So time will tell. But he puts out information so unique and just brings forth, the way, shows how he's researched so much that he can see, well, yeah, these guys wrote this, but here's their era. For one thing, you had the scribes putting in false information because nobody could read when they would um, transcribe documents. But it's all about he just brings out all this stuff that just kills academia, kills the narrative, the historical narrative that they give us. It fits in with so much other alternative history that so many people are researching. It connects so many dots. So, time will tell, but this realm, you know, it's, it's coming to some kind of head. This is a time like no other. So many people are being able to be aware of so many things that used to, it was only small pockets around the world that could learn the things that anybody can know now. And we can have instantaneous communication, you know, around the world too. It's just an amazing time. People are waking up to our true powers, that this reality is holographic, and we either just put out a video explaining how that works. And yeah, we're not just these bodies, and Jason's really brought that forth, that we're these spiritual beings having, just passing through. He points out we can't save the world. And so he's really not fear mongering at all, because he's telling you, hey, quit trying to save the world, because you're just here passing through, make the best, do what you can. Of course, be kind, random acts of kindness, pay it forward, help others when you can, but, don't stress out and don't worry and don't try to save the world. So, like I said, with his predictions, time will tell, but it's definitely an interesting time. And I really feel like all of us are here now for, important reasons, because I know a lot of us, myself included, have survived, uh, scrapes with death many, many times to be here now. So, yeah, I think that, and, like you said, the opportunity to read all these books, have over 2 decades, 2.5 decades to just read books, and that he actually did it, and he made all these charts and took all these notes. I mean, it seems very much like a destiny, fate, and that,
yes.
he would even be considered a prophet in history if we have any history, but according to him, we won't. This is it. This is the end. And a lot of other people are saying it's the end too. The end is
Well,
near. So,
it,
I don't see Jason's not fear mongering, I don't think at all.
Jason is the world's leading, and until such time that spirit separates from matter, the only chronologist in the world. But Chronicon is more than just laying everything out and showing repeat patterns. It's the great unifier, because it settles all arguments over ice ages and all these other theories. It puts everything in order, whereas there's so much out there that is, I've got a piece of the puzzle. How does it fit in relation to, I don't know, the Greeks or the Romans or whatever it happens to be? And of course, it's muddled. A thief will always cover their tracks, but um, it, you hit the nail on the head. Things are coming to a head. Well, that's the crown chakra. That's where it's meant to be. If you think of it in terms of like Sonic the Hedgehog, when he goes underwater, he has a bubble. That's your aura. If that is built up enough and that comes from within oneself, it's going to be like the Matrix film where lead projectiles will not even penetrate. I feel that I can see it in my imagination. so therefore I've created it. But it's like, well, I'm a little bit bored. I actually do want to find the limits now. It would be like a Bugatti Veyron. It's like, how fast can this car go? How quick can it stop? I need to test it to its limits. This is something that in this reality in the material world is reflected because we are continuously tested. Our limits of patience are tested. You've got this continuous bombardment of media stories, and it comes down to how much am I going to put up with? What boundaries am I going to set? It has to come from each of us. The universe is you inverse. So whilst there is a collective reality, this is going to be like rain off a duck's back. It's going to purely depend on what frequency you're on. It'll be no different from if you look at a radio going between 87.5 FM to 108. There's broadcasts within that range that are unaware of each other. You can't cross communicate. So in a way, the radio is like a perfect analogy to frequency. So it's all happening here. I mean, for all I know, if I was tuned into a different frequency, I could have Spanish conquistadors running through this building. But because the frequency is so far off, I can't detect it with the five senses in the 5 sense range in the external. But I've no real wish to sort of put myself in that frequency and experience that from this avatar, as it were.
Well,
But
yeah, the truth is there's nothing to fear because, like you said, we're just a signal coming through the radio. Well, not just, we are the signal and we keep going when this avatar's gone. And, the fear mongering end of the world stuff is people who fear dying. But when you don't really die, there's nothing to fear. So that settles that. But I don't want to get too far off topic and make this too long. I just want to, basically make this an archaic summary. And do you have
yeah,
anything else you want to add about archaics?
I would recommend everybody to just listen to it. Weigh it up inside yourself. Take what resonates. But the thing to remember, and I've raised this on video, to some people's perception, Jason is a gatekeeper. If people get stuck looking purely at the chronology and not taking that step, which is incorporated in the Immortal Soul playlist, everything comes from within. It has to be generated from within oneself. It has an immediate effect on the body. I would recommend to come into balance, and that is the heart center. Do everything from the heart. So there's things I've watched for various reasons. I may not like the music, for example, but I wouldn't give it a thumbs down because I appreciate they put the effort into it. And it's just subjective when it's art. So I wouldn't put out a negative action of giving a thumbs down. But yeah, the Immortal playlist is the key. It's reiterating what Neville Goddard has said, spoken in a language that's his time. Jason is, shall we say, transposed the message for today because there's no time like the present. We're in this present moment experiencing this present timeline. So I would run with this. I can see what Jason is putting out in sort of coded messages that most people haven't picked up on, and it's not for me to say, but it is there to be plainly seen in video shorts. That's all I can say on that. But Jason to me is one person who's got your back, as it were. He's one of a handful of people you could really count on if it comes to the crunch. That's my opinion. Not everybody has to share that opinion, but I've taken the blueprints of the Archaix data, I've applied it to things where I've probably got a better knowledge than other people on, taken as an average, and I found that the patterns reflect and repeat, and it's incredible what actually does show.
Right.
So
And like yeah, go ahead.
sorry,
I was just going to say,
I was going to
like
say it may
anything,
be that. Sorry, it broke up then.
it may be what?
It sorry, it broke up then. It may be that I can place an isometric marker on the period 1930 to 1933 of an event that took place between 1830 and 1833 and could well be repeated between 2030 and 2033. Things are sort of seem to be unfolding in that direction at the moment anyway. And I say, bring it on.
Right. And I say, if Jason doesn't resonate with you, fine, don't listen to him. But there's no need to be getting your panties in a, in an uproar, or what is it called? Get your panties in a bundle and get upset about it. Just move on. But I think he has a lot of good information to share out there, and I've learned a lot listening to him, and these lives, these new interviews he's doing are really, interesting, because there's lots of new perspectives coming in. And what I do, I listen to almost all the videos I listen to at double speed, because I know his videos are long. And there was a time when I was trying to do summaries for all his lives, but I just don't have time for that. But yeah, overall, I think, you know, Jason, I've resonated with him from the first time I heard his voice when Santos interviewed him the first time. And, I'm from the same
Yeah.
area, and probably even my brother might have known his mom, who knows? But yeah, I think he's got a lot of great information, and he's taking all that negative energy and transmuting it, and he's a real example on resilience and manifesting and making the life you want and staying positive. So that's the way I view Archaix in that light. But with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. Like I said, I don't want it to get too long, and I wanted it to
There's
stay. Go ahead.
one final point I'd like to make, and this is to all those that are triggered by what Jason says for whatever reason. Rather than go on the attack, that's the time to ask the internal question: why do you feel triggered? What is it inside you that is feeling triggered? Because it's a reflection. It's for you to find something inside yourself. So if Jason triggers you or you get angry, well, one, you're not in control of your emotions, but don't deny those emotions, explore it. That is where to go, the abyss, the deepest, darkest depths inside all of us. To examine, it's like a fire alarm going off. You're feeling triggered, and that's the time to say, why do I feel triggered by this?
Yep, that is a very good point. Some introspection there, because there's plenty of people out there that I don't agree with, and I don't like their attitude, and I don't listen to their information because they're not experts in their field at all. But I don't go around spreading hate about them. But anyway, we'll go ahead and end here unless you have a final thing you want to say.
Again, just the external world, I'm sure most people will agree to some degree that it's all an inside job. So that's something to internalize and do the inner work job.
There you go. There you have it. Very good advice. And thank you everyone for listening. Hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Remember to stay focused on what you want and help others if you can. And we'll talk to you next time. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.